wealth and poverty's shape, love, lust, and the weight of gold. Throughout history, wealth and poverty have shaped not only how people live, but also how they love. From the grand courts of emperors to the modest homes of peasants. The interplay between financial status and sexual relationships has fascinated philosophers and historians alike. Ancient societies were acutely aware of how economic conditions influenced human desire, relationships, and moral perceptions of love and sex. Ancient Greek, Roman, Indian, and Chinese thought all grappled with the question: does wealth enhance pleasure, or does it corrupt love? Does poverty purify passion, or does it strangle desire? While modern discussions focus on financial stability as a factor in relationships, ancient wisdom approached this issue through the lens of virtue, excess, and the role of love in the pursuit of the good life. This exploration delves into the philosophical, economic, and socio-cultural dimensions of wealth and sex in the ancient world, revealing surprising parallels with contemporary relationships. The burden of excess, wealth, and the decadence of desire. The ancient Greek philosopher Plato warned against the corrupting influence of wealth on love in his seminal work, The Republic. He argued that in a just society, love should be based on virtue rather than material gain. Plato believed that excessive wealth led to a form of erotic love, driven by greed rather than genuine affection. This theme resonated throughout Greek literature and philosophy, where the pursuit of pleasure was often seen as dangerous when unchecked by reason. Aristotle, Plato's student, sought a balance between indulgence and restraint. In his doctrine of the golden mean, he suggested that love and desire should be moderated. Too much wealth leads to hedonism, while too little can result in desperation. Aristotle's perspective on love and economics emphasized a measured life where passion and prosperity coexist without consuming one's moral compass. Nowhere was the excess of wealth and sexual indulgence more evident than in the Roman Empire. Roman aristocrats indulged in lavish feasts, extravagant orgies, and manipulative relationships where wealth dictated desire. The historian Suetonius documented the depravity of figures like Emperor Caligula, whose wealth and power distorted his capacity for love, turning it into an exercise of domination and excess. For the Romans, wealth granted access to limitless indulgence, but it often came at the cost of genuine emotional connection. The poverty of passion. Does scarcity purify love? In stark contrast to the indulgences of the wealthy, the Stoic philosophers championed the idea that true love could only exist when freed from material concerns. To them, the man who loves without financial incentives is the one who experiences the purest form of connection. The Stoic Epictetus, who was born a slave, believed that the mind, rather than wealth, determined one's capacity for happiness and love. His philosophy suggested that those who need little are truly free, even in matters of the heart. Diogenes, the famous Cynic philosopher, took this idea to an extreme. He rejected all material wealth and social conventions, choosing to live in a barrel and mock those who sought riches. When Alexander the Great offered him anything he desired, Diogenes simply asked him to step out of his sunlight, illustrating that power and wealth held no sway over him. In matters of love, Diogenes ridiculed those who pursued relationships based on material gain, arguing that true pleasure was found in simplicity and self-sufficiency. Eastern traditions also echoed this sentiment. Buddhism taught the principle of non-attachment, where the pursuit of material wealth was seen as a hindrance to true spiritual and emotional fulfillment. The Buddha himself, born into luxury, renounced his wealth to seek enlightenment. His teachings emphasized that love and desire should be approached with mindfulness, and that attachment to material wealth only led to suffering. Vino love, prostitution, wealth and sexual transactions in the ancient world. The intersection of sex and wealth was perhaps most visible in the institution of prostitution. In ancient Greece, courtesans known as hetairai were not only skilled lovers but also intellectual companions to philosophers and statesmen. Unlike common prostitutes, they were educated, wealthy, and often held great influence in society. The relationship between men of power and these women highlighted how wealth dictated access to both intellectual and sexual companionship. In Rome, courtesans and concubines played a significant role in political and social spheres. Wealthy men maintained mistresses and patronized brothels, where status often determined the quality of one's experience. The opulence of Roman brothels, adorned with frescoes depicting erotic scenes, reflected a culture where sexual pleasure was both a commodity and a symbol of social standing. Ancient India had a different approach to this dynamic. Temple prostitutes, known as devadasis, were considered sacred and played an integral role in religious rituals. Unlike Western societies where prostitution was often stigmatized, these women held esteemed positions, blending spirituality with sexuality in a way that tied wealth, religion, and eroticism together. The ascetic ideal, celibacy, renunciation, and spiritual love. While some ancient traditions indulged in wealth-driven eroticism, others rejected physical pleasure altogether. Christian monasticism promoted the idea that true love was found in spiritual connection rather than physical union. Early Christian ascetics like Saint Augustine, who had once lived a life of excess, later wrote extensively on the dangers of wealth corrupting both the body and the soul. To him, the renunciation of material wealth and sexual desire was a path to divine wisdom. Hindu philosophy also emphasized the power of celibacy. The concept of brahmacharya, a disciplined life of abstinence, was believed to channel sexual energy into higher consciousness. Similarly, Taoist tradition spoke of sexual alchemy, where the retention of sexual energy was thought to enhance longevity and spiritual power. These traditions viewed wealth not as an enabler of love, but as a distraction from true transcendence. The politics of pleasure. How societies used wealth to control sex throughout history. Marriage was often an economic contract rather than an expression of love. In many ancient societies, marriages were arranged based on financial and social status rather than personal attraction. Dowries and bride prices were common, effectively turning marriage into a financial transaction. This practice reinforced the idea that love was secondary to economic stability. Governments and religious institutions also sought to regulate sexuality based on economic factors. Laws dictated who could marry whom, often reinforcing class divisions. In Rome, sumptuary laws restricted lavish displays of wealth in marriage ceremonies. While in medieval Europe, the church heavily influenced the economic aspects of marriage and reproduction. Modern reflections, what the ancients teach us about money, love, and sex despite the passage of time. Many of the ancient tensions between wealth, sex, and love remain relevant today. The modern world still grapples with questions of whether financial stability is essential for a fulfilling romantic relationship, or whether love can thrive in hardship. Contemporary discussions on economic disparity in relationships, transactional dating, and the impact of wealth on sexual desire all echo the debates of the past. The ancients remind us that wealth can be both an enabler and a corrupter of love. The pursuit of excess often leads to disillusionment, while the rejection of material wealth can sometimes be taken to extremes. The key, as Aristotle suggested, may lie in balance, a middle ground where love is neither shackled by poverty nor poisoned by excess. The eternal struggle between flesh and fortune. The relationship between wealth and sex is as old as civilization itself. From the lavish orgies of Roman emperors to the ascetic practices of Buddhist monks, ancient wisdom provides invaluable insights into the ways money shapes love. Whether through Stoic detachment, Taoist balance, or Christian renunciation, the ancients offer diverse perspectives on the timeless interplay between economic status and erotic fulfillment. The question remains, in the modern world, can we learn from the past and find a path where love and wealth coexist in harmony? Share your thoughts in the comments below.